Hotepish with your host, Dwan B. Intelligent ish talk, intelligent shit talk, where we balance the profound with the profane. Political satire, celebrity and expert guests, information and entertainment, conversation and solutions. Leave your feelings at the door.
Black on black crime. Black folks needs to stick together. If we just solve black on black crime, everything could be good. And while we at it, why are we calling ourselves black? We about to address all that shit. What up, y'all? What up, y'all? This is Hotep-ish. Intelligent-ish talk. Intelligent shit talk. What's up, D? What's up, Dynamic? What's up, Dre Sean? Quan S. Harold, what up, y'all? Taj Dollars. Midnight Green, what up, all y'all? Brim Dog. On time today, what's up, Herb Saint? Keith Kelson. Tall Guy, what up, all y'all? Can't say what's up to everybody. What's up, Butter Love? Texas in the building. You hot motherfuckers over there. God damn, I hear it's hot. It's hot as hell in Texas. It's been humid here in LA. Shit. And not our normal humidity either. It's been humid than a motherfucker. But it just rained this morning to knock some of that humidity down. So that's where we at right now. That's where we at with it. Yeah, we gonna talk that shit today, because every time, people like me who talk about racism and all that, there's always, I got the goddamn, I still got Randy Shorts down here. There we go. Yeah, every time we get to talking about some progressive things as black folks, how to solve our issues, how to solve our problems, every time it seems like we're talking about the roots of our problems, which is white supremacy, there always seems to be a chorus of Negroes coming around talking about, well, what about black on black crime? So the purpose of this program today is to address that issue head on and to hopefully give everyone talking points to counter these Negroes and white folks and non-black folks that like to throw out that red herring. It's a deflection tactic. Like, if you ever take a law, like an argumentation class, it's certain strategies you can use to throw someone off their argument if they're not a trained person in rhetoric argument. And one of them that lawyers use all the time, I remember hearing this, they're like, if there's something going on in a trial, or there's like a back and forth, one person will ask the other, well, when was the last time you cheated on your wife? That's like in a debate, in a back and forth discussion, when people are talking about morality, to say the discussions on morals, one thing they'll throw in is, okay, but when was the last time you cheated on your wife? And what that does is it gets the other person talking to sit back and think. And while they're thinking, I never cheated on my wife, or they're thinking, how did this motherfucker know I cheated on my wife? While they're in that thought process, the person who threw that accusation out there can then dogpile on and come off and appear as if they won the debate. Not because they won the debate, but because they got you on the defensive defending something that you never did, or something that they have no evidence of you doing, and they know you have no evidence of you doing it. It's just a pure debate tactic to throw the opponent off their square, and for the person throwing this to then dogpile on the opponent. You're right, Harold. It's a time-wasting tactic. What's up, Dr. Sinister? Yeah. So, what's up, Boss of Queenie? Lemert Park in the house. What up? So that's a debate tactic. That's an arguing tactic that they do. What's up, Keith Kelson? Nah, I'm not gonna do no good suggestion, but I don't think I'm gonna do anything on brothers dating white women. That's not, hey, I'm not one that get into but who people dates. And I'm also someone that I don't really give a damn who people dates. It matters on a certain level, but people have to have their own moral consciousness when it comes to that. I never date white women, so I don't really spend too much time on talking about the dudes who do. We all know what it is. That's another thing that, we get hung up on. Who people date. And all I know is this. Being in love with my black wife, and I've always loved black women. I don't know where that comes from. I've always loved black women. I've always had that love inside of me. But I was also raised by a respectful black mom. My grandmother, closer to her than anybody on earth. My sister's my best friend. I grew up in an all-black environment, Crenshaw District. Went to Westchester High School, all-black school. Always lived in an all-black neighborhood. So, other people have different experiences, different upbringings. And so, who am I to sit back and criticize and judge what another person dates and doesn't date? It's a lot of people who have self-issues. And they may date other races because of how they view themselves. Anytime I address that, I'm going to work on the viewpoint of self. See, the reason why I highlighted that comment is because whether we're talking about black on black crime, who someone's dating, confidence in oneself, how people view, it all comes back to the same root. It all comes back to the same root. It all comes back to the root of how individuals view themselves and how they view their people, their village, how they view their group. So if you notice, when I do every broadcast, literally every broadcast that I do, no matter what the topic is, is addressing the self-confidence or lack of confidence in group esteem within Black society. Literally every program, whether I'm talking about music, whether I'm talking about the Congressional Black Caucus, whatever I'm talking about, I'm always addressing the collective confidence, the collective group esteem of Black people, and trying my best to uplift that through information. You dig? You dig? Same here, Buckshot. I'm not your age, but I ain't never been with no white woman. But I know brothers who have, and one of my boys is married to a white woman, and he good. You know, they good. You know, that was his decision, and so far it seems, from my perspective, as if it's working out. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors because I don't ask. But me personally, I stay home. I stay home with my women. I'm gonna address dude that got shot in Hawthorne. I'm about to address him. And that's not black on. See, there we go. I'm glad that comment came up. There was that one dude that got shot in Hawthorne last week. If you don't know, Indiana Red Boy, and it was funny too because I'm not too far from there, and I heard them shot. I heard that police activity going back to that shooting. I'm like, what the fuck going on? Still, it's not black on black crime. Before I get into it, you know I have my course coming up, communicating racism to children. Black children are often the least prepared to go into the world that does not like them because parents are either unsure how to communicate or don't want to communicate the world's racist problems to their black children because you want your children to maintain their innocence. Well, guess what? The world doesn't want your children to maintain their innocence, but you also need to know that your children are hella smart. If you show them what's going on, they'll be able to break things down themselves to maintain their innocence. You got to be able to communicate this as a people, these issues. We get caught up in racism because we as a people are ill prepared to deal with racism when we face the world. So we need to stop that one generation at a time. So my webinar coming up August 1st, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, is going to be very small. I'm going to keep it very small, so it's very limited seating. I'm doing this broadcast as a webinar on racism because I want to be able to address every single person's questions. And it's going to be very interactive to where we're going to sit down in a circle and talk about these things. So that's why that's a webinar and not a free broadcast, because it's what I do for $175 an hour reduced to a cost of only $34.99, $29.99 if you use product code on code for the discount. We will sit in a circle and we will hammer this out. Also, get my t-shirts. Y'all see them. Hotepish.com/apparel. So let's get into it. Someone asked me, do I have a webinar on parents showing and teaching their kids how to love? Go to my website and find out. breakthroughas.org. Go to my website and find out. I got 2 webinars up there. So let's get into it. So yeah, there was we got 165 watching, 82 likes. Come on, hit the like button. Thank you, Taj Dollars. Thank you. What's up, Star? What's up, Tasha? So, addressing black on black crime. Let's first start off by saying that all crime are crimes of proximity. Either crimes of proximity or crimes of need. And when people need, they take. And in most likelihood, those who need take from those who are around them the most. That's what crime is. Crime is taking from those who have when you feel you don't have. What's up, Hood News? My man Hassan Hayes up in the building. So, in America practices this thing called segregation. Segregation is you colored people live here, the other colored people live there, and white folks live over here. Poor white folks live there, rich white folks live here. Haves and have-nots is usually the lines upon which quote-unquote black-on-black crime are drawn. See, ghettos are planned, resource-deprived environments. Let me say that one more time. Ghettos are planned, resource-deprived environments. That's why I don't ever get into all that. You ever notice this shit with black folks? Man, that person ain't gonna fuck with me, man. I'm from Compton. I'm from the hood. I'm from the south side of Chicago, man. You ain't gonna mess with me. I'm from Philly. Nigga, in Oaktown, look, nigga. All around the world, same song. If you're in a ghetto, you're in a fucked up environment. You're in a planned, resource-deprived environment that your grandparents did not plan to move to. They were forced to move to through redlining. And your black ass is trapped through redlining, through prices. They put the greatest generation, the World War II generation, in the ghettos through redlining, and they kept us there through prices. So, sorry to tell you, niggas that want to bang and do all kind of dumb shit, you being from the ghetto don't make you any better than anyone else. It makes you a victim of a system. That's not a badge of honor to wear. Okay? Ghettos Ghettos are something that started in Italy, in Europe. Ghettos is where they would throw the Jewish population and how can I say this? The population of those that were undesirable. The whole thing about ghettos is a European idea. Ghettos is where undesirables in Europe were forced to live going back to the 1500s. Think I'm lying? Put up this article from Time Magazine. There's books on this, but this is a quick resource. The history of the word ghetto. This is an article from September 2019. Today, for many Americans, the word ghetto conjures images of rundown, crime-ridden, African-American segregated areas, inner cities, and common euphemism. This connotation is relatively recent. It has only become mainstream in the last 70 years or so. Coincidence? About 100 years ago is when black folks started our migration to the cities. And about 70 years ago is when those cities became quote-unquote ghetto. Because when black folks first moved to these cities, we had flourishing business districts. They didn't become ghetto until we get to the 1960s, 50s, 40s, really 50s, 40s, and 60s. Beforehand, the term was primarily associated with the Jewish urban quarters, and its changing meaning illustrates the troubling tendency of such an idea. The linkage between, and this is from Time magazine, the linkage between Jews and ghetto began in the early 16th century. In 1516, as a compromise offering those who agitated for the city to be Christian only, Venice confined its Jewish population to a little island in the northern part of the city known as the New Ghetto. The name ghetto likely derived from the Venetian verb gettare, meaning to pour or to cast, and probably can be traced to earlier presence of cooper foundry in what was to become the all-Jewish district. I'm not going to read the whole article, but you guys can go ahead and read. It's not a long article in Time magazine. Y'all see the article right here on the line. So as you see right here, first of all, ghetto is a term that was created without us ever being in mind. But what happened in the early 1900s? In the early 1900s, black people were moving en masse in the Great Migration from the South to the North and to the West, to Seattle, to LA, to Chicago, to Minneapolis, Detroit. You know, the Great Migration. Well, as black people started to come up to the North, in cities like Chicago, they would take over neighborhoods that were previously occupied by ethnic white people. Because back then, they didn't call these people white. They called them ethnic. Whether you were Italian, Greece, you were ethnic. You weren't quite white yet. So these environments that we moved into were planned ghettos for, again, ethnic white people. Not even for us. Want an example? Well, here you go. In the early 1900s, you had crazy crime in these same cities before black people got there. Al Capone. See, the thing is, when white folks, ethnic white people were in these ghettos, they don't tell you how horrifically horrible those environments were. They tend to glorify those environments with mobster movies. Italians killing Italians over turf. Jews killing Jews over turf. Remember, the Jewish mafia predates the Italian mafia. Also, if you go back and look, if you know your basketball history, in the early 1900s, Jewish basketball players were seen as the absolute best athletes on earth. Because black folks weren't allowed to play these sports. At the time, Jews were confined en masse to these ghettos. So when they didn't have many opportunities, they played sports too. Like we do right now. Sports has always been an outlet for the underserved. Crime was crazy than a motherfucker when white people or ethnics were in these so-called planned ghettos, resource deprived environments. See, you can expect crime in an environment. Let's go to environment. What is environment? If you have, see, we understand environment when it comes to plants. We understand environment when it comes to that kind of stuff. We understand environment when it comes to everything but humans. If you put a plant in the perfect soil, but you don't give it water and sunshine, what's going to happen to that plant? It's going to die. Doesn't matter what kind of plant or crop it is. Doesn't matter how strong the genes are. If you don't give that plant the resources it needs to thrive, it is going to wither away and die. And that's what ghettos do to humans. Ghettos put humans, here's the analogy I like to use. Get 100 people in an area. But while you have that 100 people in one area, bring in enough resources, water, food, clothing, shelter, for 60 of those 100 people. I'll bump up to 70. There's enough water, food, and resources for 70 people out of 100. What's going to happen? You're going to get those who are big enough, fast enough, strong enough to gather resources and garner those resources for them and their families. You're going to have other people within that don't get anything. So out of the groups that don't get anything, what are they going to turn to? You have to eat to live. You need water to live. You need shelter. Food, clothing, shelter are the bottom of the needs pyramid. In the hierarchy of needs, food, clothing, and shelter are at the base level. When humans don't have the full hierarchy of needs, they're going to find ways to attain those needs. Let me say that again. When humans don't have the base level of the hierarchy of needs, they're going to turn to other means to get those needs. Psychological needs are on the bottom. Air, water, food, shelter, clothing, reproduction, sleep. Ghettos are loud, aren't they? You live in a project with 2,000 people. Police sirens, helicopters. Mama got 4 kids, but only enough resources for 2. Then above that, you got safety needs, personal security, employment, resources, health, and property. These are the bottom of the pyramid. So before you go to talking about friendship, love, and acceptance, you can only get there if your base level needs are met. You can only get to esteem when the base level needs are met. You can only get to self-actualization when the base level needs are met. Ghettos are planned environments to where a large proportion, won't get those bottom 2 levels of needs met. So if you can't get those needs met, what do? You steal from those who do have those needs met, right? Right? See, the lame brain people within our society, the dumb niggas who don't know how to think, they'll come back and say, man, Dwan, you just making excuses. You just making excuses. Science isn't an excuse, stupid. When people say that's an excuse, I want y'all to do me a favor. Look right through that dumb motherfucker as if they don't even exist. Science is never an excuse. Science is an underlying reason for the behaviors displayed. And if you want to fix the behaviors displayed, you have to fix the root causes of the behavior. You have to fix the roots of the behavior. Because when you get a pimple on your skin, the pimple came only because your dirty ass face wasn't washed and all that goddamn dirt got up in it that you didn't see. And your skin had a negative reaction to the dirt that you didn't see. If you only addressing that whitehead on the top of your head and not using no goddamn facial scrub to scrub that dirty shit up out from under your skin, guess what? You're going to keep getting them whiteheads on your skin. Am I right? If you over here growing crops and you mad at the plants for withering away, but you're not giving that plant water and sunshine, you're basically a damn fool. Man, I don't understand these plants, man. See them plants over there sitting in the sunshine getting all that water, man, them plants is green. We need to do better. What's wrong? Why our plants keep withering away? Well, have you ever thought about watering your plant? Man, that's just an excuse. That's just an excuse. You always speaking up for acting as if it's something wrong with my crops. No, that's just an excuse. No, that's not an excuse. You know, plants need water and sunshine to grow. And if they're not properly watered. Well, I watered that plant 2 weeks ago. The hell you mean? This plant over here, that's over here growing. Well, did you know that plant is getting a little more water because you're actually spending some time, you know, it rained on that crop. Man, we just need to do better. That's how dumb you niggas sound. We just need to do better. No, nigga, just water the fucking plant. Just water the fucking plant. See, when it comes to black people, our crimes are generally crimes of proximity based in lack of base level needs. I remember when we moved to Windsor Hills View Park here in LA. Windsor Hills is a part of LA that Windsor Hills, Baldwin Hills, View Park, Ladera Heights. Y'all know if you're from LA, you know what that area represents. Black wealth, black excellence, black stability. See, in View Park, we didn't really get crime like that. You don't hear me ever really talking about haters because in an environment where black people have resources, we just all kind of got along in that neighborhood. To tell you the truth, we still do. The only issues now are these white folks moving in. But we don't have those petty. And if someone did break in, it was probably from someone from down the hill that didn't have shit. It wasn't you didn't have to worry about your neighbor committing no crime. Tell you that goddamn much. Because it's an area where black people have resources. The base level needs are met. So we literally didn't have no problems. All black neighborhood. I'll go so far as to say that I remember in my early 20s, late teens, when I first started driving, like we all know how the LAPD is and how these police departments can be. But because in View Park, Ladera Heights, black folks have resources. Those are View Park, Ladera Heights are unincorporated parts of LA. So the Marina Del Rey Sheriff Department serviced those areas. I never had to worry about the police when I grew up in View Park. When I first started driving, now when I would be out in LAPD area, I'd be watching my rearview mirror. But the minute I got on the Slauson, because when you own the Slauson, you in Marina Sheriff territory. They never fucked with us. Never, 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 never. Because the Marina Sheriff Department was somewhere that all the black officers would transfer to because they knew that there was never going to be any goddamn crime. I got family who was cops. They always called Marina Sheriff Department Chocolate City. That's where all the black cops moved to who didn't want to do shit. They didn't start no shit, and it was never no shit to be. When black people have resources, don't shit happen. Like I told you guys before, if you go back and listen to my Judge Joe Brown interview, if you think I'm bullshitting, go back and listen to my interview with Judge Joe Brown. I corroborated a story I already knew with Judge Joe Brown in a question I asked that he didn't even know I was going to ask. I had a family member who was one of the first LAPD officers in the 1960s. And he told me years ago, he said between 66 and 68, for about an 18-month period, there was only one murder in South Central LA and no crime. Why? Because after the Watts riots, the city of LA heard our call. And they moved all of those corrupt police officers who were down in South Central, they moved them out to the valley. And they stocked South Central LA up with new black cops and rookie white cops, people who weren't trying to start no shit. They brought down social programs. Judge Joe Brown talks about how he was one of the college recruiters for UCLA and how he recruited Bunchy Carter to UCLA of the Black Panthers. They put resources right down there. And in that 2 or 3 year period where South Central actually had resources and hope for the future, there was absolutely no crime. The whole crime the crime didn't start back until Nixon got elected in 68 and started his war on drugs. That's when it came. And I always encourage people to do this. Look up the Kerner Commission report. In the Kerner Commission report of 1968, I advise you guys to go get the actual full report. I'm going to show you guys this article, but I ask you guys to please, for your own good, look up the report, the full report itself. In 1968, the Kerner Commission report was commissioned by Lyndon Baines Johnson to find out why there were so many why there were so many riots in the inner cities across America. In the 1960s, Black America went to war with the country. They try to tell you we got our civil rights over, we shall overcome. Bullshit. Black folks got our rights when we turned our guns and our anger and our aggression on them. That's how we got all those rights. But as we go into the 1968 Kerner Commission report, it shows here that talks about poverty, institutionalized racism were the driving force behind inner city violence. When you read the full report, I'm not going to go through this. I just pulled this article up for you guys to have a visual to see what I'm talking about. When I'm done with this, I'll see if I can go back and get some of these links and put them in the description bar when I'm done. But in the report, it talks about, it says the black family, when just, and I want you guys to look this up because I'm going off the top of my head. I always use this report when I talk about this subject. I'm going off the top of my head. Y'all know I got a good ass memory, and it'd be hard for me just to pull shit right up. I do a lot of this off the top of my head. But y'all do see a link here in Smithsonian Magazine. But basically in the Kerner Commission report, it concluded when black families have just the bare minimum of resources, black Americans are the most peaceful Americans in the United States. We don't commit crime when we have our base level needs met. The reason why black people commit crimes, as this report concludes, is racism, white supremacy. Racism, white supremacy in the form of purposely depriving black neighborhoods of resources. Again, the crime that we see in black America comes from the system of white supremacy purposely depriving black areas and black neighborhoods of resources. Again, folks, this is science. This is social science. This isn't a fucking opinion. You deprive a group of people of the base level needs of the needs pyramid. A portion of that society will commit to crime like a fish to water. You can expect, quote unquote, black on black crime as long as there is a contingent of black society purposely deprived of resources. The same way you can expect, go ahead, take a shower and walk outside in 30-degree weather after getting out the shower with no shoes on your feet and no jacket in the middle of 30-degree weather. It may be sunny outside, but it's sunny and cold. What's going to happen? It's sunny. What that person sick for, man? It's sunny outside. How did you get sick, man? The sun was shining all bright. Yeah, nigga, but it was a 30-degree day. And I just walked outside barefoot with no jacket. What's going to happen? You're going to get a fucking cold. You're going to get the fucking flu. Best case scenario, you get the sniffles. If you get a cold or a flu, do you sit there and get mad at the cold and the flu for existing? Or do you find out why you got that cold or a flu? Do you say, shit, well, maybe next time I'm not going to just look at the sunshine. I'm going to check the weather. Maybe next time I'm going to step outside fully clothed, bundled up to protect myself against the weather. There are always root causes for a lot of these effects. That's why I don't get too mad at a lot of these hoe ass niggas walking around here. Oh, that nigga was raised by his single mom who kept his daddy away. And she didn't leave that nigga no uncles, no cousins, no positive male influences, you can expect that nigga to be a bitch. Running around whining for attention. Doing dumb shit to be noticed. The nigga didn't have a deep voice in the house. Of course he's gonna be a little bitch. Of course. Didn't have any positive male role models, didn't have any positive examples. He is destined to be a bitch. I'm not saying everybody, look, it's a lot of brothers out there that didn't have a father, unfortunately. But it's a lot of people who, although you didn't have a father, you had an uncle, you had a neighbor, you had a family friend. There were some brothers at church, at the Boys and Girls Club. Somewhere you had a man that could show you how to be a man. And you listened to that man. And so although that your father wasn't home, you grew up to be a man because you had a male influence that you can attach to. Well, it's a lot of these brothers that did not have that. Why didn't they have it? Well, for that, we can go back to the war on drugs. The war on drugs was a planned war. It was planned. It was a planned war to take the men from the environment. It was a planned genocide. When you look at what Henry Kissinger did with Nixon and what's that white boy's name? Not Moynihan, the Moynihan Report. When you look at what they did when they crafted the war on drugs, basically what they did was they took the Kerner Commission report and they flipped it upside down. They read the Kerner Commission report and they said, oh, these are the things black society needs to thrive. So the things that black society needs to thrive: two-parent household, stability. We're going to create a war on drugs to target the stability of the black family. That's why by 1971 you see crime increase, because that's when the war on drugs got started. Let's throw this heroin out on the streets. While at the same time we throw this heroin out on the streets, we're going to deindustrialize black neighborhoods. The combination of deindustrialization and the war on drugs was the formula to compromise black society, to degenerate our society to where what we see right now. This isn't something that we created. This is something that happened to us. And to all you dumbass, we need to do better people, listen up. In a system like capitalism designed to ensure people become broke and depraved so the rest of society can capitalize off of them, you need to do your part and employ some of these little black boys committing these crimes. Either employ them or shut the fuck up. You don't see me talk too much about, because if you notice and listen to me talk, I don't talk too much about what goes on the streets and why these black kids are this. You don't see me criticizing the black youth who are doing these things. I don't criticize them because I understand the environment that they were placed in. And me personally, although I've done pretty good for myself, I'm not in position to hire 200 or 300 of these youth to give them jobs, to get them off the streets. So since me, DwannBrown, is not in position to give them an alternative lifestyle to live, I'm not in position to criticize them. You hear what I just said? Since I'm not in position to hire 300 or 400 of them, I'm not in position to criticize them. Because I understand why what they're doing and where it's coming from. So I spend my life doing what I can do. Since I can't employ 300 of them, I try my best to at least lace them with the best game that I can give them. I can show them how to employ themselves and not need a job because I've done that. As I grow and get better as a person, as I get more financially stable as an individual, I show what I've learned to the youth. I create programming that counters the narrative that they get. Because it's something this is something I would ask my questions. I've worked with y'all know me. I've worked with over 1,000 youth in my time. I've been working with kids since 1995. I was 14 years old in 1995 as a student tutor at King Drew Medical Center in Watts, California. That's where I got my start, being a 14-year-old tutoring 7-year-olds. And I've been doing it ever since 95, working with kids in some kind of capacity. A question I started asking children regularly around 2009 when I was coaching basketball was, how do you view yourself and how do you view other black people? What do you see? And the answer was always basically this. We were slaves. Martin Luther King marched and gave us civil rights. Now we have Michael Jordan and Jay-Z. That's basically all the positivity they know when they see themselves through imagery. Everything else they see that's black. So the next question I'd ask them, so when you see black people committing like crimes on TV, what do you think about that? And this is the answer I would get from children as young as 7, as young as 6, as young as 8. The answer would be, well, because black people are always messing up. Every time I turn on TV, we getting arrested. We begging for something from white people. We always doing something bad. And it seems like the only thing we do good is music and sports. That's what the children think by the age of 8. When they see other black people. So when I kept getting this answer over and over and over and over and over again, I made the change. See, back then I was all about pushing kids towards sports. I was a basketball coach. I've gotten players to the NBA. That's a fact. Division I college, Division II schools. My work in basketball speaks for itself. But I was running across this problem. I saw what it took to get someone to the NBA. I saw how it took 8 hours of work in the off season to be barely good enough to be a bench warmer on a 1-year contract in the NBA. I was in practice one day And I would always tell my kids, because I would see this up close, like, okay, if you want to make Division I college, if you want to make the league, you got to be a great shooter. And in order to be a great shooter, you got to drain at least 1,000 jump shots a day. I mean, make at least 1,000 jump shots a day. And that goes along with doing your daily strength and conditioning drills, your footwork drills, your dribble drills. Basically, what I saw was, okay, in order for these motherfuckers to make it, they got to dedicate 6 to 10 hours a day of work just to go to a college that, if they end up injured, is going to revoke their scholarship. And say they do make the NBA. The NBA, unless you're one of the top tier players like Steph Curry or LeBron with a supermax deal, in the NBA, you're only going to make enough money to last you 3 to 5 years after retirement. Because when you're 21 with millions of dollars, trained to only play a sport, given no financial literacy courses, you're going to live the lifestyle of someone bringing in that income. Period. All you niggas talking about what you would do with the money, nigga, you 50. These niggas is 21. The average millionaire business person is somebody who filed bankruptcy at least once. Most millionaires and billionaires file in life. And we talking about white folks, for you professional white ass kissers listening out there. Not all y'all, but it's a couple of professional white ass kissers out there listening right now. Even your white billionaires filed bankruptcy once. And that usually happens in your 20s or early 30s. The problem is with the NBA or making professional sports, your highest income earning time potential comes between the ages of 20 and 30. If you're lucky, to 35. Once that time is done, that level of money is never going to come back to you. So by the time even those who do make the NBA realize what's going on, it's too late, and they've already maximized their earning potential because they spent the last 20 years of their life dedicating 6 to 8 hours a day to dribbling a damn ball. So I, as a basketball coach, saw myself as part of the problem. I'm over here telling these kids that the way to make it is to shoot more free throws. Because I'm thinking like, damn, if these kids, instead of dedicating 6 to 8 hours a day to a game that only 450 individuals get to participate in, called the NBA, what if they dedicated half that time, 2 to 4 hours a day, to learning how to code? Shouts out to Kwame Brown for being a professional basketball player that said this, because I've been saying this for a long time. And I'm glad to hear someone who actually made the NBA echo these statements. Spending half that time learning a trade. I guarantee you, if your little black child starts learning how to be an electrician at the age of 12, 14, he knows how to fix a car. And by the age of 18, he understands machine work or woodwork or plumbing. He's going to make more money over a lifetime than 80% of professional basketball players and 80% of professional football players. I promise you. Because while they make millions of dollars in their early 20s, that little boy is in an apprenticeship program. And by the time he's 25, 26, he can be a supervisor at the water power company, pulling in over 100 grand a year, 120 grand a year. By the time he's 30, 32, he can open up his own shop. By the time he's 40, he's a general contractor. He's a subcontractor in his late 20s and 30s, pulling in these jobs. By the time he's in his 40s, he's a general contractor. He now gets a contract with the city, with the county, to be the head electrician for all of the school districts. You don't think he gonna make more money and have more money in his pocket by the time he's 50 than that athlete that played 10 strong years in the NBA and was done by the age of 31? Who's gonna have more money? Who's gonna have more stability? Who's going to be in position to hire other black people? The person that retired from the NBA 20 years ago, or the person that got a general contractor's license and 3 or 4 different businesses under that license? Who's going to be a more productive person to black society? So I saw myself as a basketball coach who got players to the NBA as part of the problem. We got these kids thinking the only 2 ways out is through entertaining somebody and playing sports. When if that same kid dedicated that time to engineering, where would he be? See, in the early 1900s, late 1800s, we understood this. We didn't have sports as a distraction. They didn't let us use sports like that as a distraction. Granville T. Woods, the man who invented the telegraph and the train switchboard, which eventually led to the roller coaster, Granville T. Woods was 7 feet tall. Can you imagine if Granville T. Woods was alive today? Can you imagine if Granville T. Woods was alive today? If he were alive today, instead of us having the train switchboard, we'd have been telling this nigga to work on his hook shot. We would have been telling the great Granville T. Woods, man, you 7 feet tall. Why ain't you playing basketball? He ain't playing basketball because he's about to make one of the greatest inventions ever known to man. That's why. This is where we were as black society before we got inundated with sports. This is where we were. This is where we were. This is where we were as black folks. Let's look at some of the inventions that we've had. This isn't the one that I want. This isn't the list that I want. This isn't the list that I want. This is the list that I want right here. I just found it. Man, this shit, I'm trying to show y'all a visual, but god damn, this shit is really bad as far as the quality of the image. Okay, here we go. God damn, it's really small. I can't get a better. Damn it. Well, anyway, this is very small, but right here is a list of black inventors and black inventions. This is where we were before we had sports. Mostly all of these inventions happened before 1949. The air conditioning unit, the almanac, the fishing device, the baby buggy, basically the stroller, the curtain rod, the doorknob, egg beater, elevator, the fire extinguisher, the fire escape ladder, the doorstop, the keychain, the lemon squeezer, the mailbox, the rolling pin, spark plugs, the car, the traffic light, the refrigerator, freezer, all invented by black people who were either in slavery or just out of slavery, or descendants of someone within slavery. This is what the fuck we were doing as a people before we got inundated with sports. We were being the solution that we seek. My great-great-great-grandfather invented the automatic train stop. You know when a train is coming and it gets tripped, to automatically bring those rods down to stop people from getting killed? That was invented by my 4 times great-grandfather. Wait, 4 times? Oh, yeah. 3 times great-grandfather. My bad. He used that money to move my family from Michigan to Los Angeles in the 1920s. This is what the fuck we were doing as a people before sports. Why did I go on that long tangent about sports and about the black economy? Because although I don't have the resources now at this moment to employ 300 or 400 black people, black children, I do have the information to put something in their heads. So before I criticize them, I'm going to give them something to think about. I'm going to give them some substance, something tangible to hold on to let them know the greatness that's within, that they don't even know exist. They know they ain't going to make the NBA. They know they're not going to win a bunch of Grammys. So we got a lot of black children out there hopeless. And through that hopelessness, through the resource deprivation, we get quote unquote black on black crime. That's where that shit comes from. You coon ass niggas that like to bring up, well, what about black on black crime? The only black on, see niggas like you, the only black on black crime, the only black on black crime I wish would have happened was, nigga, I wish you ended up in a napkin. God damn, why did your dad have to spray your mama and it be successful this time? You should have ended up on the back of your daddy's palm. That's where you should have ended up. That's where you should have ended up. Wanting to help white folks and demeaning black people with your red herrings because you don't like yourself. So what I did was, I said, fuck this basketball shit. Let me do what I can do on the level I can do it to help solve this problem. Let me be a part of the solution. That's what I did. Damn basketball. We got better things to do as a people. Basketball is a distraction. And I got to see that shit, man, up close. Because I was wondering, I was like, damn, when I'm in a basketball environment, I'm over here going out. I mean, resources are all over the place for basketball. It was some people, I'm not going to mention no names because they're still highly active in the NBA in that environment. But man, these cats we be going, if you got a kid that played basketball as a coach, you know how many times I was offered 5 figures to get a kid to go to a different school, a different high school. They pay that parent's mortgage. It's resources all over the place in basketball. That's why we flourish. White folks will never hesitate to write a check for anything sports related. Well, I figure if we get that same check written to anything substance related, we'd have the same success, wouldn't we? Wouldn't we? And you're right, DeAndre Moses, in the 1920s, when we did have sports, we created our own fucking sports leagues. We created our own sports leagues when we did one sports. But because we didn't have the proper knowledge of self, the proper self-confidence, we gave our leagues away to other people. So I see a lot of people talking to me about what's going on in sports. Oh man, Team USA is about to lose. The rest of the world is catching up to Team USA. So? You act like holding on to basketball is somehow a good thing for us. And y'all know basketball is my favorite sport. I teach the game of life through basketball. But I'm not about to sit here and get mad that other countries are just as good as Team USA. I don't give a fuck. Let them be just as good. Let Team Nigeria, let Team Nigeria be distracted with sports. Go right ahead. Fine, do it. I don't give a fuck. And neither should you. It's entertainment. Black people we are in a fucked up position right now as foundational Black Americans, especially. We are behind the 8 ball. We got better things to do other than basketball. And let's talk about white folks and their crimes. See, Black crimes are crimes of opportunity. Crimes born out of despair. We don't commit crimes like them. Let's start off by saying the United States of America itself is a crime. This whole goddamn nation was stolen from us. We got to go back to the laws of nature. Cause and effect. As above, so below. In an environment, let's go back to talking about environments. Environments are products of the dominant force. In society, you have dominant societies and non-dominant societies. Basically, non-dominated means subjugated. But the anthropological word is the dominant society and the less dominant society. Everything that happens within a society anthropologically is a reflection of the dominating force in society. If you have a society built on crime that continually commits crime, a society created by thugs, degenerates, murderers, and thieves, then everything that happens within the society is going to be a lot of thugism, degeneratism, and all of that. The founding fathers created this country in lockstep with Native Black Americans, Booker T. Washington. The Iroquois Confederacy is where the United States Constitution comes from. Ben Franklin stole the Constitution from the Iroquois Confederacy, the nations that came together after the year 1150 by Hiawatha. The term bury the hatchet comes from Hiawatha. In the year 1150 AD, the tribal nations of the upper Northeast, black folks, were fighting and fighting and fighting. And they realized that, look, we're not going to get anywhere fighting. So let's come together and bury the hatchet and become a confederacy, a nation state, basically. And in that nation state, in the Iroquois Confederacy was created. That's where they created a Congress and a Senate to discuss political issues between the differing nations. And this contract stayed and was the law of the land in the upper Northeast from the year 1150 AD through the time of colonization. And when Europe released its prisoners, because remember, when Europeans started coming over here in mass, they released their thugs, their criminals, their degenerates, and the people that were too uptight for Europe. And Europe is an uptight place. They released the uptight, that's the Puritans, and the worst of the worst of the worst. America from the years 1619 to 1920 got the worst of Europe. The absolute worst of Europe. So Ben Franklin used to attend these native meetings in the upper Northeast. And through that, he stole the Confederacy Charter and turned it into the United States Constitution. That's what he did. Yes, I said the year 1150. Problem is, a lot of people be thinking shit started in 1776. No. The Black American presence in America goes back thousands of years. That's why when you look up the term American, I always go this. You want to look up the term of American? Go to Webster's Dictionary 1828. These are the people that these motherfuckers found when they got here. American, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. So they're telling you right there who the original Americans were. The United States of America got its freedom and independence from Morocco. Morocco is the nation that first recognized America's independence. If you want to know how much Morocco ran things here in America, pull up this letter from George Washington to Sidi Muhammad, December 1st, 1789. This is before George Washington officially became president of the United States. Actually, no, this is after. It's just after. This is a letter of George Washington kissing Sidi Muhammad's ass. Because America, this land at one point was under Moorish law. I'm not going to get all into that, you Moorish Science Temple niggas. Go listen to the Moorish Science Temple niggas for more details. I'm not going to get too detailed into it. I'm just giving you some points of references to show you how this country was stolen. Look at this. Listen to how he's talking. This letter is basically talking about America owing Morocco money, not having the money. And this is a letter of George Washington kissing ass to make sure that the Sultan of Morocco don't come down on his motherfucking ass and take this nation back. A lot of black people were stabbed in the back by this empire that turned its back on us. We greatly regret the hostile disposition of those regencies toward this nation who have never injured them is not to be removed on terms in our power to comply with. Within our territories, there are no mines of gold. He lying his ass off. He knows gold all over this motherfucker. There are no mines of gold or silver, and this young nation is just recovering from the waste of desolation of a long war. I have not as yet had time to acquire riches by agriculture and commerce, but our soil is bountiful and our people industrious, he meant slaves. And we have reason to flatter ourselves that we shall gradually become useful to our friends. This is George Washington writing an ass-kissing letter to the Sultan of Morocco. See, this country's history is far more detailed and complicated than we all see and think. The stories are very convoluted to cause confusion. Look how George Washington ended his letter. May the Almighty bless your imperial majesty, our great and magnanimous friend, with his constant guidance and protection. Written at the city of New York, 1st day of December, 1789. They needed Morocco to protect because the United States did not have a navy like that. They still needed Morocco's seafaring dominance to protect this nation from outside invasions. I know it seems like I'm going all over the place, but all of this shit comes back to a point. This is a nation that started understanding its local Aboriginal connection to Black America and its international commitment to Africans across the diaspora. But they tell you you were only slaves. This nation was built on this level of degeneracy. When America opened its borders to Europe, it brought the weak, it brought the mangled, it brought the prisoners, the people who could not function in European society now dominate the population of the United States of America. Here's an article. I'll put this in the description box. It's on the roots of crime and criminal activity in America. This was done by Brigham Young University. And it's talking about all the crime that went on in white America in the 1930s. When they were in the position that we're in right now, this report shows that they committed higher crime rates than what we have now in our ghettos. But look at what they do when they do have resources. There is no Black equivalent to Bernie Madoff. For those of you young, Bernie Madoff was a white man, a Jewish man who basically went to different wealthy people and stole money from them with promises of paying it back in a Ponzi scheme. He was already rich and wealthy, but he stole more. He had no end to his greed, no matter how wealthy, no matter how rich. He kept doing it. There is no black equivalent to that. There's no black equivalent to the Enron scandal. Remember back in 2000 when we were having those rolling blackouts? Because America's power grid was starting to fail? Well, we found out through the Enron scandal that those power grids never failed. The failing was a planned type failure. Let's cut the power to raise the prices. Because of this scandal, thousands of people who were ready to retire couldn't retire because they stole so much it fucked off their people who had their own employees who had money in their 401ks through their company. That money dried up and they were no longer able to retire, their employees. They were stealing money so one person could. They were stealing on the. You talk about black folks flossing. You find out in this whole Enron scandal that these dudes, go and watch the documentary called I think it's called The Smartest Guys in the Room. I think that's what it's called. Let me see here. Yep. See, my memory good than a motherfucker. Go and watch this on Amazon right now. The Smartest Guys in the Room. Talks about how they would literally have billions of dollars. But because they wanted to floss so hard, it was like, okay, we're going to steal some more money so they could have gold-plated umbrellas. So that they can upgrade from a $10 million yacht to a $30 million yacht. Oh, now that one $30 million yacht isn't enough. I need two $30 million yachts. Oh, you have two $30 million yachts? Now I have four $30 million yachts. That's the level of crime these motherfuckers do. And you, what about black on black crime, dumb motherfuckers? Want to sit around and complain because a black person stole some Jordans? He jacked another kid for his Jordans, and that's what's wrong with black society? Meanwhile, you got white folks stealing retirement funds from other white people. And you want to talk about black on black crime? You want to talk crime? Let's talk Bain Capital. Investment banking. Mitt Romney. His child, his baby, his business. Do you know how goddamn vulture capitalist companies work? The reason why we don't have stores like Circuit City anymore, stores like KB Toys anymore, look at what they did. This is what they do to companies, venture capital. After buying KB Toys in 2000, Bain and his co-investors had the retailer borrow $85 million to pay the firm and its co-investors dividends. A move that left the chain, which had been generating steady earnings, strapped for cash as deepening price cuts at Walmart lured shoppers away from the malls. This is what they do. They go to companies that are doing well. They just may need a little bit of money to do a little bit better, because in business, no matter how much money a company's generating, it's always going to have to borrow more money if it plans on aggressively growing and making moves for its future. So you have companies out there like Bain Capital who say, oh, you need a little money? Okay, cool. I'm going to give you that little bit of money, but along with that, we're going to stack so many fees on top. Your company's never going to be able to recover. We're going to make money off that commission on the top end of the game. And on the back end of the game, what we're going to do is we're going to short sell. We're going to say by December 2025, by December this year, 2021, throwing an example out there, we're going to buy this stock. We're going to say this stock is going to get down to this price. We're going to basically purposely crash this company's stock. And we're going to make the money on the front end. We're going to make more money on the back end from short selling when this stock crashes. And then once it crashes, we're going to file bankruptcy and take the remaining cash and leave the debt onto U.S. taxpayers while taking jobs from literally thousands of people. That's how America is set up. Crime from the top to the bottom. Jack Kennedy, father of John F. and Robert, was a bootlegger. He made his wealth on illegal alcohol, which led to thousands, tens of thousands of white people being killed in the streets over a bootleg operation. And that motherfucker's children became president. Oh, want to go back further? Grandfather of Teddy Roosevelt, president of the United States at the turn of the century, their grandfather, and Theodore Roosevelt, his cousin. That's the same person. Theodore, I'm dyslexic than the motherfucker. Teddy and Theodore are the same goddamn person. Y'all know the Roosevelt I'm talking about, the New Deal Roosevelt. I'm drawing a goddamn blank. Well, anyway, the Roosevelt's granddaddy. You know how he got his wealth? He got his wealth pushing opium in China and India. See, in the 1800s, 1700s, England realized the way to keep China and India under control is to keep them hopped up on drugs. And the Roosevelt's granddaddy was one of the primary drug pushers that was selling drugs into China to keep the Chinese people subjugated until Mao came through in 1971 and got rid of all that shit. We live in the house of thuggery, boy. We live in the house of degeneracy. The little crimes you get from other black people ain't shit on the crimes that caused them and led them to that environment that put them into position to have to rob you. Cause and effect. Cause and effect. This is not an excuse. A law of nature is cause and effect. Every effect has a cause. Every cause has an effect. And when you understand the cause and effect relationship to crime, it makes you stop saying dumb shit like, what about black on black crime? And it puts you in the mental position to now actually do something about said black on black crime. You're right, Daddy. I'm just now looking at the chat room. You're right, man. You're right. You're 100% right. Mitch McConnell's ship had several kilos of cocaine on it, and nothing happened to him. That was just a couple years ago. I forgot all about that. Look at this. They say, look, this is how they explain their white crime away. A relatively small amount of cocaine was discovered by Colombian Navy hidden on a boat belonging to the company owned by Mitch McConnell, father-in-law. Yeah. They say it was owned by his father-in-law, huh? Okay, that's what they do. See, if you're black, a lot of black people are in prison because their cousin did something and they knew about it. See, for us, they call those RICO laws. Somebody you know, a family member, committed a crime, but you're a public official. You're a or matter of fact, you may not even be a public official. You're a regular person. When you're black, you go to crime for that. When you're white, they can say, oh, that was just your father-in-law, and yeah, you have stock in this in this company. Yes, he's a primary owner and you're part owner. But you get to still be a politician. CEO of Chase Bank had dope on his ship too. Yep. So when people see the weak-minded amongst us always want to say things like this is an excuse. Cause and effect is not an excuse. That is a law. Cause and effect is a law of nature. Cause and effect is a law of nature. Let's go into them. What are the laws of nature? We always got to go back to the base. The 7 laws of Tahuti, which most of your biblical principles are based on. This is in the Kabbalion. This ain't got nothing to do with religion. These are laws of nature that existed before we were born and will continue to exist through perpetuity. Law 1, the all is mind. Basically, we are one. Law 2, as above, so below. As below, so above. It's law of nature. What's happening up there is going to happen in here. The same way we have a universe full of galaxies. Inside of all of us is a universe with over 70 trillion cells. The principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves. The principle of polarity. Everything is a dual. Everything has polar opposites. What does that mean? That means in every society, you're going to have a range. You're going to have good and evil in all societies. When you try to isolate evil to one society, you're outside of the basic laws of nature. There's a continuum. I'm not saying black folks are perfect. When we have our things, our resources done, we don't commit certain crimes, but we still do other fucked up shit. Because polarity is a law of nature. I want to get down to principle 6, the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has an effect. You can't change this. Drop an egg, it cracks. Water, when at 212 degrees at sea level, will boil. Cause and effect. You hit someone's arm with a hammer, it breaks. Cause, effect. Do you judge the break, or do you ask why the fuck was that arm hit with a hammer? And of course, the principle of gender. That 7th law is some shit that America's doing its best to get rid of. There is no gender. There's non-binary. There ain't no such thing in nature as non-binary. If they get us confused sexually and successfully confuse us sexually, then at that point it's all over. We ain't got one thing to help thwart against this attack on us as a society is to not adopt every goddamn thing this country gives us as something good. Try powering electricity with only positive charge. You ain't gonna get shit. You need the positive and the negative. You need a plug, but a plug needs a socket. Everything thrives off that principle of gender, yin yang, opposites attracting, principles of cause and effect. In America, we have the cause and effect. What's the cause? The cause of black crime, according to the Kerner Commission report, the cause, white supremacy, institutionalized racism. That's the cause. Depriving groups of people of resources. That's the cause. The effect is crime. What's the cause of black people not having a positive viewpoint of ourselves? Omitted information. Us only seeing the worst of us, not balancing that with the best of us. The effect is low self-esteem. A negative perception of self. Everything in life, everything in nation has a cause and effect relationship. Oh, you want to talk about Chicago? Let's pull this up. I'm glad someone said that. Yeah. Remember this? Let me see if I can pull it up. One of the major, when we talk about Chicago today and increased crime, because mind you, Chicago had been on a steady, Chicago since the late 80s, contrary to popular opinion, had been on a steady decline in crime. Under Obama in 2013, over 50 schools were closed. What happens when schools close? What's the cause? Schools close. The effect? Children now have to drive further to school or have a further distance to get to school. Young adults have to cross, young teens have to cross rival gang territories in order to get to school. What's the effect? They're probably not going to go to school for those who are caught at the bottom of this hierarchy of needs. Not all. See, most black people are still doing great. Even with all this shit, even with all this stuff we're talking, 99% of black people will never kill another black person. You think about that for a second. With all that we're talking about, 99% of black people will never, 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 never kill another black person. Never. But in an environment like this, the people who were affected the most by the cause will cause the majority of the destruction. See, there's already a connection between lack of education and crime. And the school to prison pipeline shows us that they know by the second grade who's going to jail and who's going to be successful. See, what got me on this path was when I was in college, I was on the debate team. And I had a debate on private prisons. When I used to be on the side of, we need to just throw them all in jail, because I was raised in the hood, but I never committed crime, so I hated the gang members. And then when I was in the high school, my early 20s, I was like, man, fuck them niggas, throw them in jail. I used to be on that. I used to be on that. And it was a debate that I had in college. That changed my mind. I got to see, because when you're on debate, I was on the side of pro-private prisons. I mean, not private prisons. I was the side that I took was pro work in prisons, like for them to work their labor off in prison labor. So as I'm studying my opponent's argument, I'm seeing that since 1971, for every dollar taken from education, that dollar was put into prisons. And I'm like, hold on. If I'm reading this correctly, they're taking money from schools to fund prisons. Yet at the same time, they're telling me you reduce crime by better early education. So on one hand, they know in order to reduce crime to increase education, yet they're purposely taking money from education to put into prison. That's what showed me, oh, this is a game. I'm not one of those people who gets new information to see. A lot of people get new information just to sit around and brag to other niggas about how much they know. I don't believe in that shit. I don't educate myself to brag to other niggas. I educate myself to change myself, to change those around me. That's why I was saying earlier when I coached basketball, I know I used to be the person, the same memory I have now that recalls all this information is the same memory I used to use in basketball and still do sometime. Throw the year out, I'll tell you what team won the championship. 1984 Celtics, 1987 Lakers, 1991 Bulls, 1990 it was the Pistons versus 1997 Bulls, 1995 Rockets, 1990 2004. We're talking about the Detroit Pistons beating my Lakers, 2007. San Antonio Spurs beating the Cleveland Cavaliers, 2011. Dirk Nowitzki beating the Miami Heat. Look, I said all to say, look, my brain remembers sports like crazy. All right? So I figured as a grown man who's no longer a child, if I can use my memory to remember all of these sports stats, if I remember the NBA champions in 1972 were the New York Knicks, and I wasn't even born in 1972, How can me as an individual use this same brain for more constructive purposes? And when I saw that black children, me included, were miseducated as to who we are and why we're in the position that we're in as a people, I said, man, fuck that sports shit. I'm going to use this same brain for information. This is a study right here done by my alma mater, Cal State University, Northridge. I'm class of 2006. Bachelor's degree in communication studies. Shows you right here. In 2013, California's budget allotted $1 billion more to prison than to higher education. If the money is going towards the prisons, why is that? What are they doing on the other end to guarantee this $1 billion more they're spending on prisons than higher education is going to find a purpose and find someone to use it on? See, the government understands the law of cause and effect. The media understands the laws of cause and effect. The government don't put up $1 billion unless it knows for certain that $1 billion is going to be put to good use, nigga. It's an agenda. It's not conspiracy theory. It's social science. Let me say this again. It's not conspiracy theory. It's social science. The government don't put up $1 billion on a theory, fool. No one's putting an additional $1 billion behind a theory. You put up $1 billion behind a guarantee. Facts. Law of cause and effect. See, when I teach, I like to bring it all together. Nature's law, social law versus the laws of the land and the policy that the laws of the land use nature's law to guarantee the outcomes it desires and seeks. See, the people writing these laws understand nature. They understand the rules of nature. And they use the rules of nature against those who don't understand the rules of nature. See, with me saying this, I'm not saying you got to be all buddy, chummy with everybody. Look, you can't be friends with everybody. I'm the type that I see these kind of degenerate niggas and I stay far away from them. I love them from a distance. When I see niggas doing dumb shit, and it's a lot of niggas doing a lot of dumb shit, I don't go all the way in on them because I understand where that comes from. I understand the soil that bad seed was raised in. It doesn't mean I try to go around them. It doesn't mean I try to go around and fix all of their problems. It just means I have a level of respect and understanding that is bigger than me. And the only thing that I can do is my part. I can't solve the whole thing. I can just use the talents that God gave me to solve my portion of the problem from the angle I see it. That's the way I look at it. I got respect for it because I understand that they're a product of their environment, an environment they did not choose to be born in or live in. Because for all the shit that niggas talk, I'm from the hood. I'm from the hood. You don't know about me. I'm from the hood. The minute you get enough money, where are you moving to? Anywhere other than the hood. Facts. We were put there for the distinct purposes of growing the school to prison pipeline. That's why black schools don't have good education. That's why black schools don't teach trades. That's why black schools don't teach financial literacy. I know it was a problem when I walk into these non-public schools at my job. You got children with autism, all kinds of learning cognitive issues who still can be productive members of society. But when you look on the walls, all they have is banners from Harvard, University, UCLA, Berkeley. And I'm like, hold on. These kids don't like school in the 9th grade. They're in the 9th grade on the 1st grade reading level, barely learning their arithmetic. Not saying they can't get better, but what I'm saying is this. To tell a child that already hates school in the 9th grade that the path to freedom is 4 additional years of school after you graduate, that's not a very, how can I say this, promising or path. It's not a path that attractive. But if you teach these same kids that are just sitting in class bored anyway, because you ain't teaching them shit, how to work with their hands, even if they have a cognitive learning ability, you're still giving them something that they can use right now. These non-public and special ed kids know these motherfucking kids ain't going to college. Or if they do, it's going to be one semester and they out. Because these schools did not prepare them for the level of work needed to be successful in college. Nor do they have the work ethic to get that work completed. You're dealing with kids who don't want to do homework. How are they going to read 3 chapters in 2 days? They're not. They're setting these kids up for failure, giving these children one solution. So let's get to that part of my show that I always have to bring to when I'm talking about these issues. Solutions. What are the solutions? How do we solve this problem? How do we deal with this? We solve it by first understanding. Another solution is stop all this. You can be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. Nigga, your 14-year-old kid don't even know how to tell time on a non-digital clock. Yeah, I said that. A lot of these kids take a digital clock away and put the clock with the 2 arms on it. They can't tell time. I know. I'm out there on the streets. You can be a doctor or a lawyer. Sounds good, but it's not appealing to them. We as adults got to stop all this. You need to go to college. You need to get a degree. You can be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. We got too many goddamn lawyers as it is to begin with. That's why we have such a litigious society that's willing to sue everybody because you scraped your knee. Now some lawyer over here willing to sue the company because of your scraped knee because there's too many goddamn lawyers out there. Shit, on top of that, lawyers are paid to lie. Do you want your child to be that level of a scoundrel? No, we need electricians, homie. We need girls who are seamstress. We need plumbers. We need engineers. We need scientists. We need coders. And a lot of these skills you don't need a goddamn college degree for either. A lot of this shit you don't even need a goddamn degree for. You just need a skill. Look at this. Ah, shit. I'm trying to pull this article up for you. Like I want in pop-ups. Look at where the trends are going, people. Microsoft doesn't require a college degree for entry-level jobs. Here's what the company's looking for instead. They're looking for people who are trained already in STEM. They're looking, look at this. Microsoft isn't the only tech company issuing traditional expectation for job requirements. Google and Apple have also broadcast similar policy. They're looking for people who are trained in skills, not meaningless degrees. That's where the world is headed. We need, as a solution, to get off that college train and get back into skills. We also need, as a solution, better knowledge of self. Because when black children understand that, look, nigga, you invented math. You got a responsibility to uphold the integrity of math. Guess what? They do it. We got to tell them that they have more heroes than basketball players and entertainers. We are literally the brains of America. We weren't just slaves. They got to know about George Washington Carver, Benjamin Banneker, Granville T. Woods, Lewis Latimer, Dr. Charles Drew, Garrett Morgan. They have to know that greatness, that they are born into the bloodline of greatness. And it's their responsibility to continue the bloodline of greatness on. And you don't have to be a basketball player or a rapper to do it. When confronted with a system of white supremacy, we must call it out for what it is, unabashed and unashamed. Because, like the Kerner Commission report shows, even they admit the root cause of our problems are not homegrown within our society. The roots of black problems are imposed on us through institutionalized racism. The law of cause and effect. And that's why, my friends, I have my webinar teaching racism, communicating racism to children. Because when we start learning about racism in our 20s and 30s, after we done already got kicked in the ass a couple times, I'm not going to say it's too late, but we're already behind the 8 ball at that point. Imagine if you understood the pitfalls of white supremacy racism at 8. You would then understand why that teacher don't like you. You'll know once you do go to college, if you do go to college, how to navigate around them. One issue I always ran into in college was when I used to write my reports, I would write my reports on racial issues. And amongst other reports, I would notice when I would write reports about general topics, I always got A's. A+. I was a great writer. I couldn't pass a fill in the blank test for shit because of my dyslexia. Fill in the blank and multiple choice, that fucked me up. Confused the shit out of me. But if I had a written or oral exam to where I had to explain my answer, I always got A's. Except for when I talked about racism. You know, in college, you always got these white liberal feminist teachers. And in America, if you don't understand racism, white supremacy, you think that those liberals are on your side. You think that because they have issues, you have aligned issues with white male privilege, you think that the white woman or the non-black or the Indian or the other person, these others, you think because you have a common enemy or common cause against Anglo-white male supremacy that you have a common cause with them, and you don't. These are people just using you for their means. They hate your black ass too. But if you black and you went to college, most of us didn't figure that shit out until it was a little bit too late. Until after a couple heartbreaks. So my workshop is me being part of the solution. It's tools that I've used for as long as I've been doing this, over 10 years now, over 20 years of communicating these issues to children in a way that they can understand. Because yes, you as a parent, you as a cousin, as an adult, as an uncle, as an auntie, yes, you want your child to maintain their innocence. But there's a whole society out there hell-bent on making sure your child don't have no innocence. But the beautiful thing about this is this. Your black child is smart as hell. They already see what's going on. They just don't have the words to vocalize it. You give them the ammunition to vocalize what's going on, to interpret what's going on, and watch that little genius flourish and flounder. Watch that little genius flourish. Watch that little young boss of yours, that little young girl of yours, that little young boy of yours win. Watch that teenager stop doing a bunch of dumb shit because he thinks the problem is the other black person that looks like him. Watch him use that energy and aggression to more constructive behavior. I know this because I do this. I know this because it works. Been doing this shit for a long goddamn time. But I've been doing it one-on-one with families. Now it's time. See, look at this. I got the testimonials to prove it. This was one of my clients that I was one-on-one mentoring. Helping that family understand what it is and develop. Instead of me doing this on a one-on-one level, and I still do this on a one-on-one level, I wanted to bring this to a larger group. I have very limited seating in this because I want to be able to interact. I want to be able to interact at an affordable price for people having difficulty with these issues. So the link to this is in the description bar for those who may need the help. This is just me doing my small part. I can't solve all this on my own. All I can do is use the few skills that God blessed me with, that I've been cultivating over years and years and years, perfecting. All I can do is do my part and use my skills to help solve the issues from my point of view. I'm not the end all be all, can't fix everything, but I can do me. And that's what I'm here for. But that right there is my talk on black crime. When people want to talk black on black crime and they're not willing to talk about what goes into black on black crime, that person is either unaware or just intellectually lazy or don't care. Either way it goes, whether it be intellectually lazy, unaware, uninformed, or flat out don't care, you're dealing with people who are unmotivated to make any real concrete changes. You ain't got to argue with them. You ain't got to go back and forth with them. Just know who you're dealing with. And understand that if you're confused by what black on black crime is, hopefully this broadcast helped minimize that confusion. Hopefully. Yeah, like I said, teaching your kids early. That's right, yo. That's the age to teach them. Because remember, your personality is formed by the age of 8. At 7, children from 0 to 7 in that theta state, they pick up everything. Everything goes to that subconscious. And by the age of 8, that subconscious is locked in, and their perception on their worldview is locked in for life. Unless there's deep therapy, there are ways to untangle later on if the person chooses the path of therapy and the path of waking up. You can untie those ties. But for the most part, your personality is ingrained and done and finished and will be your underlying ways of thinking the rest of your life by the age of 8. So the more knowledge of self you can get into a child's mind before the age of 8, the more knowledge of how to manage society you can get in the child's mind before the age of 8, the better off that child's subconscious can be and work in their favor the rest of their lives. Okay? Thank you, Star. Breakthrough Advocacy Services, Communication and Solutions by DwannBrown. That's me, yes. Let me know. info@breakthroughas.org if you email me. I am open to private consultations. I got 15-minute sessions for just random general questions you may have. I have one-on-one family sessions and individual sessions, all available to you at breakthroughas.org. My programs are on my website. All right. The coupon code for the free shipping on the site is SPEND50. You buy $50 worth of merchandise. The product code is SPEND50 for free shipping. That's the product code. I'm about to get up out of here. I got to get ready for Craig Facts. We're going to be on live later on today. Talking that shit. You know how we do. Having a good time, cracking jokes. But in the meantime, remember this. There are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages for those who are willing to pick up the game. Thank y'all again for joining my broadcast. My name is Dwan B. I'm out.